Hi friends, this week we have something a little bit different and a little bit special. So I decided that I wanted to create some tassels for embellishing gifts or hanging on my tree. So these tassels are a little bit different and I even made them a little bit differently. Many of you have probably already seen this technique that I'm getting ready to show you, but I have never shown it to you on my channel before. So, and in true Jovi style, I'm doing it a little bit different than what most people would do. So you can see I grabbed a box, and that's what this is. It's a little Christmas box, and I grabbed that. And we are going to make our small tassels using this little box. Now this is not a tiny box, but it is a small box. And I forgot how many times I wrapped this first one around. I think I wasn't even counting, but after this, because I made several of these, after this time I went around 20 times. You may have noticed in the beginning that I had laid this one string like across the box. That's not necessary, but I wanted to try it out because I figured it's there, then I can just tie these fibers together, and so that's what I'm doing. I am tying this in a double knot, just like I would if the fabric was laid out on the table. You've seen me do that. I lay it out, I put that string underneath of it, and then I tie it in a double knot. So this is similar, it's just that the materials are different. So I'm sliding it off of the box now, and now you see I've got the little tied part, and then I have all this extra fabric that was wrapped around the box. Now, just like in my other videos, I am going to take a string. Now I'm using some smaller fibers today. I usually use a little bit bigger, or like a satin ribbon or something, but this is a much smaller string because this tassel is much smaller. So at any rate, I'm wrapping it around. I'm still sticking with my little puff top here because I do love those. Those are my favorite. And so at any rate, I'm putting this in a double knot. Now it is time to make the cut so that we actually have a tassel. So I'm pulling these nice and tight and just cutting right across there. They come out pretty even, as you can see, and I've just got to trim up the little red and white ones. Now I'm going to tie the top, and I'm going to make it big enough so that it could be hung on a tree, but that could be adjusted if it was going to go on a package and the top needed to be smaller. I'd rather have more than enough and then have the ability to adjust it later than if I did it too small, but then I ended up wanting it longer, then I'd be in trouble. Now it's time to try something a little bit different. So I've got this embroidery floss. I have not made a tassel with embroidery floss yet, but I'm going to go ahead and give that a try. So I don't really have a small box or piece of cardboard. That's actually all you need, is a piece of cardboard to wrap your fibers around. That's what most people use. But you know, I like to do things a little bit differently, and I like to just be able to grab something that happens to be in my space at the moment. And so I'm going to see if I can wrap this embroidery floss around this package of ribbon and see what happens. Alright, so I ended up fiddling around with this quite a bit, and it ended up not working out for me, so I'm going to grab something else and give that a try. Alright, so sitting right next to me, I had this little bundle of wired ribbon, and so we're going to use that. Again, most people use like a little piece of cardboard that they've cut or whatever, and then you just wrap your fabric around that and then you pull it off. But I just don't feel like looking through cardboard and, you know, cutting a piece that is the size I want. So I'm just winging it and just using what I have handy. So at any rate, I am wrapping this embroidery floss 20 times around. And now I am sliding it off of the edge. And just like the first one, I had already had that little piece of the hanger part of the fabric. I had placed that in advance, and so that is already on there. So as you can see, this is going to be a very small tassel. The embroidery thread is very fine compared to what I'm used to working with, and it's very small, so it feels very fiddly, as my friend Carol at Carol's Recrafted Boutique would say. She uses the word fiddly a lot, and that is exactly what it is. So now I am cutting a small piece of the red and white. It's kind of like a very fine, you might call it twine, I'm not sure. But anyway, that's what I'm going to use, and I'm going to be tying it. And I'm not really measuring how far down or anything. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. So I will go ahead and tie a double knot. After that, I will straighten it out and then cut the bottom, trim up any, long pieces, and that's it. Look how cute. Here it is on a gift tag on a present. Okay, we are going back to the box, but we're going to do this one just a little bit different. I'm going to go ahead and use some of that white yarn that I used in the first one. And by the way, I like to get yarn at the thrift store, but this particular bolt of yarn I actually found for $1 at the Dollar Tree. So I thought that was a pretty good find. And then I'm going to mix that with the red and white twine. I'm tying the top just like the other two, and then I will go ahead and cut the bottom, and then I'll go ahead and trim up these red and white ones that seem to be just a little bit longer. So I'll go ahead and straighten everything out. Look at her, isn't she so cute? I just love the way this little tassel turned out. Here she is on my tree. Okay, we're going to try something a little bit different here. I'm wrapping some of the yarn around the box, which that's not different at all, of course, but we're going to go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to go ahead and use some ribbon. Now, in my opinion, this ribbon is a little bit too wide for a tassel this size, but I'm always up to a challenge and an experiment. So let's go ahead and use it and see what happens. I would say this ribbon is just a little bit wider than a ½ inch. Okay, now I'm going to see if I can manipulate this ribbon a little bit and kind of move some of the pieces over to each side so that it will spread out a little more evenly. Right now they're basically stacked right on top of each other. So I'm going to go ahead and just play with them, move them around, and see if I can get them to move. Okay, I think I got them moved around a little bit. Now I'm going to use some satin ribbon to create the puff top. And here she is. And here she is hanging on my tree. Alright, I have some ribbon that I think is too wide for these small tassels. So I'm using my rotary cutter and I'm just trying to go right down the center of the ribbon. Alright, so on this tassel I'm going to use the white yarn as the base, if you will. It kind of gives it some fluff, so that's why I'm going to use that. And we're going to be wrapping it around. I'm trying to decide what size I want. I think I'm going to go smaller on this one. So I'm just going to use this polka dot ribbon as, a template. I don't even know what we call it. But anyway, that's what I'm going to use. And so I'm going to go ahead and wrap the white yarn around it as usual. But then I'm going to go ahead and wrap that ribbon around it. And let's see what we end up getting this time. I think it is so quirky and cute. I just love it. Now I'm going to make another small one. Again, white yarn for the base, and then I'm going to use some ribbon. Now the ribbon I'm going to use is probably just a little bit smaller than a 1/2 inch wide, but I think it's a little bit bigger than a 1/4 inch too, so it's probably somewhere right in between there. I've decided to experiment one more time, and I want to make another one of these really small ones. So I thought what I would do is, instead of using cardboard or a box or ribbon or whatever, I thought I would use my fingers. So I'm going to go ahead and wind it around my 4 fingers 20 times. Now I'm going to show you pictures of each of the tassels that we made today. I put these little ones onto some tags, and then I put the tags on gift boxes. I made this next one out of some wired ribbon. I removed the wire and then put that together. Thanks for watching. See you soon.